Hello, today this is Jake, and today we will be reading How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight, but I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's. Staring down from his cave with a thought Grinch frowned at the warm lighted windows below in the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville relief was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging those stockings, he snarled with the sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas is practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake up bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then all the noise. Noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they'd feast and they'd feast and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and wear Who roast beast, which was sometimes the Grinch who couldn't stand in the least. Merry. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since the reindeer are scouse, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called in his dog Max, then he took some wet thread and he tied a big horn on top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. The Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay smooth in the town. All the windows rolled up, quiet snow filled the air, all the Who's who were dreaming sweet dreams without care. Then he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed. Then he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then he could be the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out the fireplace flue. Well, the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. around the whole room, and he took every present. Popguns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slipped to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food out the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was smaller than two. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know that old Grinch was smart and so slick. He thought of a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it up to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here. In his fear for the child, then he patted her head and got her a drink and went and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was their log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. When there was, he left nothing but hooks and some wire. In the old speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was a quarter past dawn. All the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze. He packed up the sled, packed it up with the ribbons, the wrappings and tags, and tinsel and trimmings and trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load on the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that there's no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, I know, just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang out open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-boo. That's the noise, grinned the Grinch, that I must simply hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started low, then it started to grow. But it wasn't sad. Why the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He started down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming, it came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling, how could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. And the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas will have things a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say the Grinch's small house grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his house didn't feel so quite tight, he whizzed with the loads, the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. The end.